these issues be raised by the party which is affected, not someone sitting on the sidelines. Was that the intention?
I call his submission balderdash. I'm glad that he mentioned that we must have a purposive understanding of that provision. But if he had done his research and gone into the Hansard of the discussion of the provision as it happened during the consultative assembly, he would have realized that everything he has said has a value of sheer sophistry. Then a sophistry is where you use something that is irrational, untrue, dishonest to represent the substance of your argument or riposte to a question set. That is sophistry. Professor Michael Quay, I agree with him that the issue at fault, the current issue as contained by the provision is a technical one, and therefore it's not subject to any judicial interpretation because it is act clear. The words and spirit of the provision are clear and cannot be subject to any judicial interpretation. But for him to say that the provision was made for the purpose of protecting the interests of the political party is bunkum. If it isn't, how did the independent candidate find himself into the same provision? You see, we argued this provision for a very long time. And we said that to protect the interests of the constituency from which the sitting MP comes in, because it comes in on the basis of his contract with the constituency and the political party, then the interests of the constituency must be protected. So you go back to the constituency and seek a fresh mandate if you cross carpet. The same thing with the independent candidate. You presented yourself to your constituency as a person with an ideology or a manifesto separate from that of a political party. So if you jump ship to join a political party, you must go back to the constituency for a renewed mandate. This is simple. And then Michael Quay go into all kinds of historical reference and allocate the interests of the political party as the primary purpose. And therefore the political party must be the one that should file a motion. This is balderdash. It doesn't show honesty. You are caught in your own catch-22 situation where you have issued an order disqualifying a former MP for jumping ship to become an independent candidate. If we wanted the whole provision to apply to only the interests of the political party, we would not have brought in the independent candidate, the independent MP. Two, from sophistry, he then jumps to what we sociologists call petitio principii argument. That is dodging the question. He dodged the question when it comes to the independent candidate and says that we are dealing here with the intention of the person jumping ship for the next parliament. Intention doesn't come in. The provisions of that article is akin to strict liability offense under criminal law. It goes to a tribunal of fact. not a tribunal of interpretation. What it says is that if you jump ship, you must vacate your seat. Simple. Has the person jumped ship? It's not that whether he has intention to jump ship or what. He has actually, in a form of actus reus, jumped ship by failing a nomination form for the next election, and his own party constitution says there is an automatic activation of the dismissal of his membership from the party as soon as he jumps ship. What is there to interpret again? Let's have some honesty in our politics. It's full of dishonesty.
But Doc, talking about the process of declaring the seat vacant, who raises the question?
Anybody in Ghana, because it moves from the property of the political party to that of the constituency, and once it becomes a matter of public interest, any Ghanaian can raise it. It belongs to the Constitution, and the Constitution is a matter of public interest for anybody, not just a political party.
In this case, he's suggesting that Honorable Haruna AIDOO or the minority leader have no business raising a matter that relates to the MPP.
Business. It is in the interest of every Ghanaian to behave in strict accordance with the constitutional provisions. And when the statement and the spirit of the provision are clear, it does not subject itself to any judicial interpretation. And so now, while we are on this subject of judicial interpretation, I think it's about time Babin put his foot down, because we have had too many interference of the judiciary with the principle of separation of powers. How do you injunct a parliamentary process when Parliament is supposed to have authority over its own procedure? And every time the Supreme Court is coming in, interpretation and that kind of thing, it must respect the separation of powers principle. It's about time.
Meaning you're not happy with the way he's handled it thus far?
No, I'm not. He leaves himself vulnerable to the dictates of the Supreme Court. The Constitution says you are in charge of your own proceedings. You formulate your own standing orders. And if the standing orders are not in conflict with the letter and spirit of the Constitution, nobody outside can come and interpret for you what your standing orders should be. The Supreme Court only comes in when there is an act of Parliament that is against the spirit and letter of the Constitution. Then we go into the interpretation. But when the provisions are clear, there is no need for interpretation.
Because in this case, the majority leader is claiming that he has filed a motion before the Supreme Court in an attempt to stop him from acting.
It's a bogus motion. Babin should ignore it. Go ahead and issue his ruling on the matter. You cannot injunct parliamentary procedure. Nobody in Ghana can injunct parliamentary procedure, and we are allowing the Supreme Court to constantly interfere with the proceedings in Parliament, infringing the principle of separation of powers. It's too much.
Well, Doc, thank you very much for speaking to us this morning.
Senna, if you have time, there's another matter I just want to few minutes.
Please go ahead.
There's this mantra going on that elections are won or lost at the polling station. This is a fallacy. Elections can be won or lost in the strong room of the Electoral Commissioner. I was a witness in 2008 to this process of manipulation of results by the Electoral Commissioner. 6 constituency results from Kumasi came on the second day of the collation and reportage of the results. In those days, we had 10 regions, and each region had a dedicated fax machine. And the results, presidential, come through the regional fax machine. On the second day, the 6 results came, and the first person to handle it was Roger Metelvino. I asked him, why is he holding on to the results and not passing it on so that it will eventually end with Afarijan and his endorsement? Oh, I'm holding it because I want to see how it goes. So on the third day, I took the results from him. And I went to Cocoa Hill to try and photocopy it because I knew something was wrong. You see, I had somebody, an informant, at the Air Force Base who was giving me daily movements of the flights. And on the 4th day, he told me Jacobeche Belante and Kandapa have taken the F-27 to Kumasi. Suddenly, I smelled a rat. So I must have copies of this. By the time I got to Cocoa Hill, Roger had called Kwame Ahoy. And Kwame Ahoy started shouting, take it back, you like this, you like telling on your friends and so on. I was so upset that I just returned the thing. If I hadn't been upset, I would have realized that my phone could even scan the documents. Suddenly, after 4 days of being in the strong room, I needed a refreshment. I only reached Kanesi Market when Toto Bikwachi called me to say that there is a rumpus in the strong room of the Electoral Commissioner. I got there, and it was like a marketplace. There was Elvis Afria, Ankra, Fifi Kwete, and others shouting and shouting. So I told Afarijan that let's audit the fax machine for Ashanti region, and we will see that those results have come already because the fax machines have records. Too much shouting diverted Afarijan's attention from what I was suggesting. So I went to the fax machine, and the guy who was responsible, I said, open the fax machine. He opened it, and the records have been expunged. Not a single record was in that particular fax machine. Suddenly I got frustrated, and I said, that's it. So it is not true that elections are won or lost at only the police station. Can be manipulated. A record of manipulation was recently served us during the balloting. In fact, I tested on Maneboama to that effect, but we didn't see my test. When they were insisting that an opaque bag must be used for the picking of the positions for candidates on the ballot, this electoral commissioner dropped a ball on the ground, gently pick it up, and place it on top of the pile in the green bag. He didn't shake the bag again. That's why when the MPP agent came, he just peered into the bag and picked that ball. I tested Omane Boama to that effect. He didn't reply. This is how elections are fixed. In all my association with the NVC, every time I've been in the strong room, 4 times, NDC has won. I don't know whether I'm the lucky mascot or not, but for all the times that I've been in the strong room, 92, 96, 2008, 2012, we won. You don't need any sophisticated system of monitoring of results. A simple method using trustworthy agents, taking pictures of the pink sheet, transmitting it to the proper place, collating the results, and using a simple D-based system, database system, to project your progress. That's all. That's all you need to know whether you are winning or losing. But every time there is an election, you see NDC people, they come, everybody wants to be part of the collation center. Why? Because of money? It's ridiculous.
Doc,
I'm done, Senator.
Thank you. Thank you very much for speaking to us this morning.
You are welcome.
Dr. Tony AIDOO is former Ghana ambassador to the Netherlands. Join us this morning. So, would